You're listening to Side by Side with Kathy Wilson. Episode 28. Where you go, I will follow. Chairs were arranged in a circle around the room, and my class awaited the introduction of the dogs that were destined to become our partners. My feelings were an up and down elevator ride between despair and optimism. Hickory was such a perfect guide for me. I adored everything about her, and there just couldn't be two dogs the same. When I expressed these thoughts to the head trainer, Greg replied that they would do their best, and I knew from experience that their best was the best. Then Greg and Leah entered the room with 3 dogs on leads. These dogs were healing well. Not like the frantic dogs that came to the first class I ever attended. In that class, it was assumed that since we were all first-time guide dog users, we needed to learn everything, including how to calm an over-eager dog, overflowing with enthusiasm for fun outside the kennel. This time, the class majority was made up of students who were back for another dog after garnering years of experience working with their former partners. Greg and Leah handed their 3 dogs over to students and then returned to the kennel for others. I was sitting at the other end of the room and couldn't see what was happening, but everything sounded happy to me. My elevator was climbing to the optimistic floor, and I strained to hear what was going on. Were these dogs golden retrievers or Labradors, I wondered. Was there a dog in this room who would show me the way and take away the lost little girl part of me that dominated my life before Hickory came? I sure didn't want that back again. Leah and Greg returned to the room with 3 more dogs, which meant there was 1 for each of us. Greg brought me a small black Labrador named Cola. I rubbed behind her ears the way Hickory loved to be stroked and found that Cola liked it as well. We took our dogs on leash into the hall and walked with them up and down to get the feeling of their stride and speed. I thought Cola was a lovely dog with a slow pace and willingness to respond to commands. When I returned to my seat in the upstairs lounge, Greg took Cola back and asked me what I thought. I replied that I liked her, and she was a good guide, but I was accustomed to a bit more speed. As Greg told us a little about the dogs working with us that day, I sensed a dog sitting near me, and it most definitely wasn't Cola. It just didn't feel the same at all. I extended my left hand, and sure enough, there was a dog sitting close by. I had the feeling he was trying to melt into the woodwork. Was this dog as anxious as I was? He certainly wasn't eager to be the center of attention. My hand rubbed his back, and it came to me that this was not a regular-sized Labrador. He was a giant and just couldn't disappear, even if he wanted to. As I listened to Greg telling us about the guides, I continued to stroke this timid giant and give him ease. In so doing, I also calmed my own anxiety and felt the peace coming to us both. Kathy, that's Duncan you are with, and he is the largest dog in class. He was donated to us by a breeder and not a part of our own breeding program. We'll change dogs again, and Kathy, you can work with Duncan and see what you think. I was pleased with Greg's instructions because I really wanted to work with this dog very much. Once again, we made our way into that long upstairs corridor and walked its length over and over. I could feel the power in his muscled legs as we surged forward. This dog had speed to spare, and what fun it would be just to say, "Duncan, tally ho!" and then go like lightning. I was delighted to experience his quick response to my command as we made left and right turns. We were really doing well, and as far as I was concerned, Duncan was the one, and hoped that the trainers would think so too. Leah brought me a different dog named Darwin. He wasn't as big as Duncan and had a slower pace. After we had walked that hall a few times more, Leah asked me if I liked working with Darwin. "Darwin is fine, I do like him, but I love Duncan's speed and his quick response. Something really clicked for us." Leah sounded pleased. "Oh, he's a great dog. We'll just have to see how things go from here." That evening I pulled the covers over my head and prepared for sleep. I thought about all the dogs that had worked with me that day, but my memory kept replaying the time spent with Shy Duncan and the ease with which we worked together. As sleep took me into the land of dreams, in my imagination Duncan moved forward with me, and the night soothed us both. "This is crazy," I thought, as my golden slumbers were abruptly interrupted by a rousing piano rendition of the Pink Panther. "Son of a billy goat, what's going on?" I punched a button on my clock and was less than impressed when a deep, sexy voice announced, "It is 5:43 a.m. Why is the Pink Panther crawling around at this hour of the morning?" Someone in a furious voice bellowed, "Shut up and go to bed." The music abruptly stopped and left me sleepless in Oakville. As my brain came back to reality, it became obvious that Donna had honored us with her morning serenade. She played the Pink Panther for us yesterday, and I enjoyed the impromptu concert. But not before 6 in the morning. That just isn't going to be appreciated by anyone. Why does Donna have to glue her foot to the loud pedal? If she had played it at a normal volume, I might have slept through it, but not likely. I wonder if I could buy a set of earplugs. Donna was a young student, but I rather doubted if any of us would take that into account before giving her a dressing down. As I waited for the daylight to appear in my window, the distant sounds of barking came to my ears. I didn't hear any bass notes in the canine chorus. Maybe Duncan is a tenor. But on further deliberation, I realized that Duncan would be a basso profundo. Could Duncan be trying to get a few last winks of shut-eye before he had to rise? Poor Dunk, that just wasn't going to happen with everyone barking for their breakfast. The kennel staff serves eats at 7 o'clock, so it was time for me to rise as well. What would the day bring? More time with Duncan was my first and only wish. After breakfast of pancakes, the class gathered in the lounge, and we were told that this would be another day working with different dogs before the final selection was made. When Leah brought me Duncan, I was overjoyed to be with him again, and his long, slim tail waved a jubilant hello. Today we were given a chance to work the dogs in harness, which meant that Greg had to make some adjustments to get a good fit. You see, Crazy Cat isn't quite 5 feet tall, and as I mentioned before, Duncan was long and tall. Perhaps he should have been named Sally. The fit was finally right, and the class went outside to walk around a couple of city blocks. There we were in a long crocodile, each team with a generous space between the next. It was a lovely sunny day for the midst of October, with the leaves beginning their kaleidoscope of color. I rejoiced in the familiarity of the harness in my hand and the gentle pressure of Duncan's pull directing each step. I realized that Duncan was holding back because the teams in front of us were moving more slowly. As we reached Lakeshore Boulevard, Greg rearranged the line and Mr. Duncan and I were in the lead. We were instructed to return to the school, and I gave Duncan the forward command. "Okay, Duncan, away we go," and go we did. Those long legs just stretched out and demolished those city blocks, and I was propelled into laughter. This was so much fun, and I wanted to do it again. When the rest of the class caught up, Greg asked me if I'd found Duncan's speed too much. Too much? I thought. Not for a minute. But I replied, "No, that was perfect. I really like to move like that." For the remainder of the day, our trainers switched dogs and brought out some different ones as well. They wanted to get a good match for everyone. Each time this happened, I hoped that the trainers would allow me to work with Duncan a little longer. And each time, this is just what happened. Near the end of the day, as the trainers were taking the dogs back to the kennel, I overheard a conversation between Jerry and Leah. "Leah, I would really like to try working with that big black Labrador. I bet he goes pretty fast." "Yes, Jerry, he certainly knows how to lay down rubber, but he wouldn't be a good match for you. Duncan prefers ladies and isn't happy guiding guys. You would not mesh well together." Oh, how that bit of knowledge wrapped itself around me and a rainbow of hope glowed in my mind. When I was speaking with Ralph over the phone that evening, I told him about Duncan and what Leah said. "Do you think they might assign Duncan to me tomorrow? He is so what I like." "Duncan is the dog you have spent the majority of your time with. I think the chances are pretty good that Hickory is going to have a new buddy named Duncan. When will you find out for sure?" "Tomorrow afternoon." "I sure hope you are right. I'd hate to lose him." "Maybe you'll have the Pink Panther on wake-up call tomorrow morning." I could hear the amusement in Ralph's tone. "No, she left for home in Alberta today. She decided she didn't want a guide dog." I wish she had realized the endless opportunities that would open for her. I wished Ralph a good night's sleep and rolled into my bed. "Good night, sweet Dunk. I'll see you in the morning." Not even the first cup of Java of the day could distract me from getting to class and zipping through the morning. I just knew that this was going to be a super bestest day. Greg and Leah had set up the obstacle course in the lower hall, and we practiced our stay commands and worked on smooth turns, both right and left. Duncan worked flawlessly, and my confidence in his ability was evident in my words of praise. Duncan loved to work, and he didn't want to make a mistake, so the praise was a prize to be valued above all else. Duncan and I were waiting for our turn on the obstacle course again, when Greg and a young woman approached us. "Kathy, Duncan has to go for his bath now. Before he is assigned his partner, he has to be clean." "Could I give Duncan his bath? I have bathed dogs before. I used to have a St. Bernard." "Huh, I can see you like big dogs. Yes, give Duncan his bath then. Come to lunch." I admired the setup they had for bath time, and it was a relief when Duncan leapt into the bath and Tina gave me instructions on how to proceed. She underlined the importance of rinsing Duncan thoroughly and not leaving any soap behind, and then she left me to get on with the deed. All the rubbing and suds had me singing the old ditty about splish splash I was taking a bath, and Duncan was wondering if I had lost my mind. Well, I hope she finds it. Tina never does this at bath time. Duncan wasn't sure if he was amused or alarmed, so he just watched and listened. Completely bonkers, was Dunk's final conclusion. I shall really need to look after her. I was thinking that since Duncan was being groomed for one of the students, that person must be me. The fact that I was being permitted to give him his bath was added proof that we were a match. Is it any wonder that my feet wanted to dance and my heart couldn't help but sing? That afternoon, for the second time, I waited in my room to receive my new partner. It wouldn't be Cola or Darwin. There wasn't a particle of doubt in my mind that I would be welcoming Duncan into my life, to be a part of my family, and the key to embrace my world. I was neither surprised nor disappointed when a few minutes later Greg brought Duncan to my room. I thanked Greg for allowing me to be a part of Duncan's life, and then I hugged that marvelous dog. Duncan, I promise I'll look after you and do my best for you. It's I who will be looking after you, crazy woman. Duncan licked my cheek, and I knew he was happy too.